Japan's secret World War II weapon, balloon bombs. The Japanese harnessed air currents to create the first intercontinental weapons balloons. By Jonah Rizzo, National Geographic. Published May 27, 2013. Balloon bombs launched from Japan were intended for the United States. Many hit their mark. MAP by Jerome N. Cookson, National Geographic. Source: Dave Tewksbury, Hamilton College. Balloon bombs aimed to be the silent assassins of World War II. Hitching a ride on a jet stream, these weapons from Japan could float soundlessly across the Pacific Ocean to their marks in North America. Still largely unknown, these armaments were a byproduct of an atmospheric experiment by the Axis power. In the 1940s, the Japanese were mapping out air currents by launching balloons attached with measuring instruments from the western side of Japan and picking them up on the eastern side. The researchers noticed that a strong air current traveled across the Pacific at about 30,000 feet. Using that knowledge, in 1944 the Japanese military made what many experts consider the first intercontinental weapon system, explosive devices attached to paper balloons that were buoyed across the ocean by a jet stream. Wikipedia. From late 1944 until early 1945, the Japanese launched over 9,300 fire balloons, of which 300 were found or observed in the US. Despite the high hopes of their designers, the balloons were ineffective as weapons, causing only 6 deaths from one single incident, and a small amount of damage. Press cover-up. Edit. The bombs caused little damage, but their potential for destruction and fires was large. The bombs also had a potential psychological effect on the American people. The US strategy was to keep the Japanese from knowing of the balloon bomb's effectiveness. In 1945, Newsweek ran an article titled "Balloon Mystery" in their January 1 issue, and a similar story appeared in a newspaper the next day. The Office of Censorship then sent a message to newspapers and radio stations to ask them to make no mention of balloons and balloon bomb incidents. They did not want the enemy to get the idea that the balloons might be effective weapons or to have the American people start panicking. Cooperating with the desires of the government, the press did not publish any balloon bomb incidents. Perhaps as a result, the Japanese only learned of one bombs reaching Wyoming, landing and failing to explode, so they stopped the launches after less than 6 months. The press blackout in the US was lifted after the first deaths to ensure that the public was warned, though public knowledge of the threat could have possibly prevented it. Single lethal attack. On May 5, 1945, a pregnant woman, Elsie Winters Mitchell, born February 26, 1919, and 5 children were killed when they discovered a balloon bomb that had landed in the forest of Gerhardt Mountain in southern Oregon. Archie Mitchell was the pastor of the WWII Christian and Missionary Alliance Church. He and his pregnant wife Elsie drove up to Gerhardt Mountain with 5 of their Sunday school students, aged 11 to 14, to have a picnic. They had to stop at this spot near Bly, Oregon, due to construction and a road closing. Elsie and the children got out of the car at Bly, while Archie drove on to find a parking spot. As Elsie and the children looked for a good picnic spot, they saw a strange balloon lying on the ground. There were 2 explosions. The boys were killed immediately, and Elsie died as Archie used his hands to extinguish the fire on her clothing. Joan Patsky survived the initial blast, but died later. A bomb disposal expert guessed that the bomb had been kicked. These are the only known deaths caused by the balloon bombs. They are the only known deaths in the contiguous US as a result of enemy action during World War II, and the only civilian casualties on American soil after the US entry into the war. Military personnel arrived on the scene within hours, and saw that the balloon still had snow underneath it, while the surrounding area did not. They concluded that the balloon bomb had drifted to the ground several weeks earlier, and had lain there undisturbed until found by the group. Elsie Mitchell is buried in the Ocean View Cemetery in Port Angeles, Washington. A memorial, the Mitchell Monument, is located at the point of the explosion, 110 kilometers, 68 miles, northeast of Klamath Falls in the Mitchell Recreation Area. It was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 2001. Several Japanese civilians have visited the monument to offer their apologies for the deaths that took place here. and several cherry trees have been planted around the monument as a symbol of peace.